Hi, we're doing 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Today we are looking at ZR Zombie Riot in VR. ZR Zombie Riot is a first-person shooter that has you pitted against an army of zombies that are trying to come after you, or the bait that you've left for them. This one's really interesting and we're excited to jump right in with you. In our VR Gear game reviews, we try to cover as many aspects of the game as possible so that you can make an informed decision before you try or buy one of these VR titles. We're excited to show you ZR Zombie Riot to make sure that you have the information you need to go out and give this one a shot. The first area we're going to cover is how to get up and running with ZR Zombie Riot. This game is about 5 gigabytes in size and it's going to take a good amount of time to download over slower internet connections. We got ours from the Viveport Infinity subscription we have, but it's also available on the Steam store if you'd like to buy it there. Once the download is complete, installation is basically automatic and the game will be ready to play as soon as installation completes. Loading into the game and getting into the menu is pretty straightforward. The selection method is you looking at the different parts of the menu and pushing a select button on your controller. Once you get the hang of that, it's pretty clear. It took us a few seconds to figure out how to interact with the menu. But once that is done, you can clear the game history to start fresh. You can also pick the level of graphics that you would like to use for gameplay. Then you can pick between story mode or endless zombies coming at you mode. It's up to you. We picked the story mode and we jumped in. This game is a first-person shooter that is played from the standing or sitting position. It's a stationary game. What this means is you'll be standing in one spot while the opponents come toward you. This is great for people newer to virtual reality as it allows you to not be subject to motion sickness as you're getting used to the mechanics of VR. This game can't be categorized as a bloodless game because there is blood, but it's green zombie blood. Everything is very cartoonized and the opponents that you're eliminating are the undead. So depending on your tolerance for zombies and killing them, this game may or may not be appropriate for children. As you're in this game, you'll play from the first-person perspective, but you aren't able to see much of your own body. You see just your hands and the weapons that you're holding, but nothing else. The right hand did have a band-aid on it. I'm not sure if there's a story behind that, but you don't see much more than your hands as you're playing this game from a first-person perspective. The theme and story of this game are really engaging, and we had a really good time following the storyline as long as we were playing for the hour we were in the game. You are a person learning how to fight off zombies, and you have someone that is in your earpiece giving you instructions about each level of the game. The levels are broken out into different stations that you are battling from, and you're given different weapons to utilize while you're battling. The story was really engaging, although we're not quite sure who the person in your earpiece is or what they're directing you toward. I'm sure going further into the game will reveal these mysteries, but it wasn't clear up front why this person was providing guidance and giving you earpiece training on how to fight zombies. But there was a clear storyline here, and the theme, of course, is fight zombies. The controls for this game were easy enough to become familiar with. However, in the heat of battle, you can push buttons unexpectedly that will release your weapon. And so what you do to grab weapons is squeeze the grip. What you do to fire weapons is pull the trigger. You are often given 2 of each kind of weapon, so you can use both hands to grip and fire. And on the index controllers, you are able to press the touchpad to reload your weapon. We ran into a few problems when it came to grabbing and releasing weapons because of the sensitivity on the grips of the controller, so we would be going to fire our weapon and instead the weapon would drop from our hands. But overall, the controls were intuitive, they were easy to remember, and in the heat of battle, if they didn't misfire, you would be able to reload, re-grab weapons, and fire your weapon really without thinking much. It was a really good controller setup. The music and sound of this game was actually really fun and really engaging, and it made you feel like you were fighting off zombies. The sound effects of the zombies were convincing. The weapons firing were also pretty accurate for a cartoonized fighting game. But there was one issue with the sound that we found kind of confusing, or we wish there would be some improvement there, and that has to do with the spatial audio and the directional audio. We paid very close attention to see if the audio would give us clues as to what direction the zombies were coming from, but it was very unpredictable and it wasn't helpful at all. If you were hearing a zombie come from the right or from the left, their actual appearance on the scene didn't match. And that actually reduced the advantage that we'd have using spatial audio as players of the game. So we really hope that there's some improvement there. But overall, the audio, music, and sound of this game was really great. There was a lot of work that went into it. We just wish there was a little bit more direction to where the audio is coming from. Player movement in this game is limited to standing or sitting in a stationary position. However, there were times where we would drop a weapon and we would want to go retrieve it, and it was either beyond the guardian or the scene wouldn't allow us to reach for it. And so moving around to reclaim weapons was somewhat difficult and also frustrating. But the game is played from a standing position. Your movement is limited only to going to the next checkpoint that the man in your earpiece is telling you is the next place you need to defend or attack. Overall, the movement included turning from side to side and looking up and down in order to find and eliminate zombies that were coming toward you. For motion sickness, we didn't experience any of it while playing this game, and that's because the player movement is such that you aren't moving very much at all without your own volition. You do rotate left and right, but you don't move forward or backwards, up or down. Your movement is limited to a stationary position. The game is played from a stationary position, and moving between checkpoints was limited to a fade to black and then a fade up to show the scene, which was not jarring or disruptive at all. So we didn't feel motion sick while playing this game in the least bit. The environment and the sense of immersion that this game had was really impressive, and the game developers did a really good job of helping you feel like you were there. It was helpful to have the audio guide with the earpiece that you got at the very, very beginning of the game. This person described what the next checkpoint was, what you were supposed to do. They also bragged a little bit about how well they did when they were at that level before you. But overall, you really felt like you were in the game. There was a sense of fear. You could be afraid because it was so convincing. You were so immersed. The graphics are definitely cartoonized, but it was still an impressive game when it came to graphics and the performance and the pacing of the story. So we were really impressed with the environment and the immersion of ZR Zombie Riot. All right, so let's look at the scorecard for ZR Zombie Riot. For theme and story, we're giving this game the high score of 7 out of 10. A few points deducted because it wasn't clear what the direction was for the story. There was no introduction that you could read through or experience when you launched the game at first. But there was really good story that was pulling you through a lot of different experiences as you progress through the levels. So a 7 out of 10 for story and theme. The controls of this game, while they were very intuitive, they had some failings when it came to interacting in the heat of battle. And so we're giving this game a score of 7 out of 10 for controls. For music and sound, we were very impressed with the sound effects. We were very impressed with the music that added to the environment that made you feel really immersed in the game. However, we weren't so satisfied with the spatial audio implementation and the direction that we felt the audio was or was not coming from. And so we're providing a 7 out of 10 for music and sound, a few deductions because of the absence of spatial audio. For player movement, we are giving this game a 7 out of 10. It was a very well executed stationary game that allowed you to pivot to the left and to the right and look up and down. The problem was there were times where you needed to move because the game required you to reach further than your standing position to recover a weapon that you had inadvertently dropped because of some of the controller issues. So a 7 out of 10 for player movement with some room for improvement. For motion sickness, this game is getting the very high score of a 9 out of 10. There was virtually no motion sickness that happened in this game, and it was really great to experience it. There could be some motion sickness if you're new to VR, because there's a lot of pivoting back and forth and trying to keep track of oncoming zombies can cause people to become a little bit queasy. But for the most part, this game executed stationary VR gameplay very well, and motion sickness was at a minimum, so a 9 out of 10 for motion sickness. For environment and immersion, this game is top of the line, top notch, and it executed very well everything that you would expect from a stationary VR game. And we are providing a 9 out of 10 for environment and immersion of this game. and we had a really great time, and we'll probably go back to this one. We really felt it was executed well, the story was pulling us forward, and if we had had more time, we would have spent hours and hours in the game. Time flies, the environment's immersive, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, so for the overall score for ZR Zombie Riot, we are providing a 7.8 out of 10, which is a very good high score. We really enjoyed playing this game. The story and the theme pulled you into the game and you felt immersed, and you actually felt some fear if you were really, really in the game. And so we thought this was a really great title. We do recommend this one to try or buy from the Vive Port Infinity store or from Steam. This has been 100 and 100, where we're reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you can receive a notification when we release another VR game review tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.